So greetings everyone, I am the Technomage, back with The Lord of the Rings of Power, this time episode 2. So let's get on with it. In this episode we have a lot happening. So first of all, we finally have the opening sequence, which is some kind of sand or something forming shapes. It was nice. Now I want to pay attention to this. Developed for television by G.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, written by Jennifer Hutchinson, and directed by J.A. Bayona. Remember these names because these are the people in charge of this. So if this series ends up being the shit show that episode 1 promised, you know who to blame. So anyway, we start the episode with Galadriel, who is still swimming on the sea after jumping ship and not returning to Valinor. And then we see the comet man who fell from the sky, and Nori wakes him up and he starts talking and screaming in a very loud voice, and there's a lot of things happening, almost like magic. He summons some kind of whirlwind, and then he falls unconscious. And Nori and her friend steal a wheelbarrow from their community, and they move him to a safer place, and then they lose him. Meanwhile, Arondir and the healer named Bronwyn, they arrived at the town they were going to visit to find out what made the cow from the previous episode sick, and they find the town burned and destroyed, and they think it is really weird because the earth even was open and they felt no tremor, no earthquake, and they find no bodies. There are no corpses, no wounded, no nothing. And inside of a house they find a hole in a tunnel which runs along under the town. And Arondir decides to follow the tunnel, not before having a last look and moment with Bronwyn. Then we jump, as of so far, this is just the beginning of the episode, but nothing happened, just a lot of exposition, mainly just to let us know where all the characters from the introduced on the previous episode are now. So then we jump to Eregion, the realm of the Elven Smiths, where Elrond is talking to Celebrimbor, and they talk about previous works of art made by other elves, and Celebrimbor says that he wants to do more than he has already done, and that he wants to make something that has real power. And he reveals to Elrond that he wants to build a tower that will house a forge more powerful than anything created before, with which Celebrimbor hopes to create something more grandiose and powerful that has ever been created before. The problem is he doesn't have the manpower to build said tower, and Elrond suggests seeking help from other races. And they go to Khazad-Dûm, realm of the dwarves, where Prince Durin lives, and Elrond said that Prince Durin is his old friend, and if he goes and asks for help, he will get it. And he knocks on the door, and the people behind the door, the guards, tell them to sod off. In long story short, so Elrond invokes a trial named Sigyn Tarach, and they let him in. And so some dwarven guards come out to pick him up, and I don't know if these dwarves are either the tallest dwarves ever, or Elrond and Celebrimbor are really short for elves. So anyway, Elrond goes inside and we see Khazad-Dûm, and is wow, this is beautiful again. The visuals on the series, the white shots of backgrounds and the like are really beautiful. And then Elrond is presented to Prince Durin, his old friend, who is not happy to see him, and they go immediately to the Sigyn Tarach, a test of endurance, which is it is to break rocks with hammers and see who can outlast the other. Now back with Nori. It is morning, and she goes find the Comet Man, and he's gone. He's making some drawings on rocks, and when Nori talks to him, he became scared and starts shouting in that very loud voice from before, and he summons a very strong gust of wind, and the trees around him starts to bend and the like. And during that time, Nori's father gets injured. His leg seems to be broken because he was helping to set up a tent or something, and the tent failed and he hurt his leg. And the other Harfoots are worried because they are preparing for the Harvest Festival, and after that they will leave, because, as I said in the previous video, the Harfoots are nomads. They are not settled down in a particular territory like the hobbits will be in the future. So they are worried that he will not be able to migrate with the rest of the group. Then we go back to Galadriel. As I said, there's a lot of exposition in this episode. It's mostly exposition. There's nothing like, how to say, important, like developing the plot on episode 2. So Galadriel is still swimming on the ocean, and she finds a group of castaways on the remnants of a ship. And that woman over there says we have to help her. Another man says no, we don't, and they lift her up into the remnants of the ship. And alright, I don't want to sound insensitive or anything, especially to Galadriel's actress. I think her name is Mordin Clark or something like that. So with all due respect with Mordin Clark, I mean, I hope this is part of her costume and her makeup as Galadriel, but Galadriel is flat as a sword. I mean, wow! Wow! I hope they did this because since she has been swimming all this time and she's only wearing that flimsy dress or something, underwear, and since it's wet, it becomes kind of see-through and really skin tight or something like that. I hope that the fact that she's flat as a board is because of that. So they did it on purpose, so we wouldn't see her practically naked under that really thin and wet piece of cloth that she's wearing, because otherwise Celebrimbor might be able to force the 3 rings of power on her chest. I mean, it's flat as an anvil. So anyway, they discover that she's an elf, and they all become really distressed because, oh no, an elf. Why? What's wrong with she being an elf? Anyway, it seems that humans don't trust elves. Well, maybe it has something to do with the fact that the elves broke their war with Morgoth and then Sauron to Middle-earth and razed Middle-earth to the ground. And then we see the worm, some kind of sea dragon or giant sea serpent that destroyed their original ship and is still hunting them. And it destroys what's left of the ship and eats the rest of the castaways. But one of them survives and helps Galadriel and reveals his name is Halbrand. Then back to Khazad-Dûm, Elrond and Durin continue the rock the smashing contest, and Elrond decides to yield. And everybody cheers Durin because he's their prince and he defeated a elf. And Durin escorts Elrond to the exit of Khazad-Dûm, and they have a really personal and close talk. And I have to say, I like this part. Because Elrond, at the beginning of the episode, told Celebrimbor that Durin was his old friend and they will receive him with open arms. And when they finally meet again, Durin is really hostile towards Elrond. And at the beginning I thought maybe it's the usual because elves don't trust, dwarves don't trust elves. Maybe Elrond misinterpret his relationship with Durin, and then we find out this because it's been 20 years since the last time Elrond saw Durin, and in that time Durin got married and had 2 children, and Elrond wasn't there. He missed the whole life that he had in those 20 years, and Elrond becomes really sad because he realizes that Durin is right, that he missed a lot of the life of his dear old friend, and he apologizes, and he asks to apologize also to his family. And he meets Durin's wife, Disa, which you will recognize is the black dwarf woman that was greatly promoted during the advertising of this series. And I owe the character and the actress a apology. You see, during said promoting, I saw the first photograph of this character, and I didn't like her because of her face. No. Wait there. Don't chop off my head or something. Let me explain. No, not when I said I didn't like her face. No, it's not because she's black. No, the Technomage is not racist. I didn't like her facial expression. It looks like she was really angry or something, or it seems like that to me. So I said that this character is going to be horrendous, and I was wrong. The character is Disa is adorable. I really like her, and she immediately gets fond of Elrond, and she invites him to dinner, and she starts a talk of war with Durin that he's staying, he's leaving, and of course he stays for dinner. And Elrond notices that there is a tree inside Durin's quarters. And during dinner, Disa tells the story of how she and Durin met and fell in love, and it's a beautiful story, honestly. And the other thing is that we actually have a heterosexual couple that is functional. And it's not the woman berating the man always. It's not that the woman is more intelligent than the man is dumb and useless. This is actually a happy, functional, respectful, heterosexual couple. Wow! I'm really impressed. And again, you don't see something like that a lot nowadays. So congratulations to Amazon Prime for that. And as I said, Disa tells the story of how they fell in love, and it's a adorable story. And she tells Elrond that Durin planted that has tended the tree with a lot of love, almost as if it was his third child. And Elrond reveals that he gave that tree to Durin when it was just a little sapling, and he says that where there is love, it is never truly dark, because all the other dwarves called Durin mad because he tried to make a tree grow in all the darkness of Khazad-Dûm. And Durin decides to forgive Elrond and to hear the proposal that Elrond brought to Khazad-Dûm. Well, back to the sea, we have Galadriel and Halbrand still in the middle of the ocean, and they start arguing because Halbrand in the beginning is a little bit distant and somewhat hostile towards Galadriel, and Galadriel doesn't like this, and he tells her that I'm not angry with you, I have nothing against elves. Elves didn't destroy my homeland, it was orcs. And Galadriel pays attention to this because she is hunting orcs. And she says that I'm sorry about your family and your loved ones. Now tell me, sorry, I'm angry for you, and now tell me everything you know about the orcs. Tell me where they were, under whose banner they were fighting, and where they went. And Halbrand gets angry because he feels like Galadriel is taking advantage of him, of his grieving, and he tells her that she didn't cause his suffering and she can fix it, and to let it go. And she says, I can't let it go because I've lost more than you. I mean, she actually started a contest of which of us has suffering more under the orcs, and of course she wins because she is far older than him, so she has lost more. But their discussion is cut short because a storm is approaching. Meanwhile, Bronwyn returns to her village, and she tells to warn her people about the destruction of the other town. And I want to stop on these details for a while, because the camera actually stops here. It's focused on this pillar of rock or something, which has the shape of the head of a dragon, I think, and then this other carving which shows what seems to be a giant eagle, I think, holding a person, looks like a child, on its beak. Now, why am I stopping here? Because in the previous episode, Arondir was talking with his superior, the Watch Warden, and the Watch Warden told Arondir that they were keeping watch over this valley and the humans on the valley because their ancestors fought on Morgoth's side during the war, and they were really loyal to Morgoth. So are these people still loyal to Morgoth? Because I've noticed that they seems to be a really close-knit group, really isolationist. I mean, not just towards the elves, because humans and elves it seems they don't like each other. It's also because they seem to be hiding something, even from Bronwyn, because they talk about things that when they are alone, and when somebody else approaches, they immediately change the subject. So anyway, that's just an impression of mine. So uh, Bronwyn tells the people that there's danger approaching, and they ignore her. The leader of this, I think is the leader of this town, tells her that it's just gossip, that she has no evidence, and he dismisses her. And again, it's a woman telling the truth, telling something sensitive, telling them that we have to run, we have to go to the Elven Watchtower, we will be safer there. And it is a man and a group of men who tell her to shut up. Because of course, men will tell a woman to just shut up. So she goes back home and she finds first of all, back in her home, Theo starts hearing some noises under the floors, and a hole appears, and an eye looks at him from the hole. And back to Arondir. Arondir is still following the tunnel, and he finds some form of claw inside this tunnel. And then he realizes that something is following him inside the tunnel. You can see it very well on this image, but there is something there. And he runs, and he arrives at a subterranean lake, and he swims to the shore, but he gets captured anyway. And back with Bronwyn, she goes back home, and she discovers that her home has been sacked. And then something horrible, really, really ugly, comes out of the hole, and she hides. But eventually, that thing finds her, and a fight breaks out of this monster versus Bronwyn and her son Theo. But they eventually prevail and kill it, and Bronwyn presents that monster's head to the other villagers as evidence of what she has said, and they all decide that they have to leave. Back again with Galadriel and Halbrand, they are in the middle of the storm. They are trying to tie themselves to their little makeshift boats so they don't fall overboard, but their little raft is struck by lightning, and Galadriel sinks because she tied herself up to a piece of wood, and the piece of wood was also tied to some form of weight, and it sinks her. But Halbrand goes into the water to save her, and they both reach surface safely, and they return to their raft. Then back again to Norith. Oh my god, we are doing this back and forth again and again and again. Seriously. I know I'm saying back again with and meanwhile a lot, but that is the pacing of this series. It's just go from one side to the other again and again like a pinball. So anyway, I mean, when Jeff Bezos said, I want my own Game of Thrones, he was serious. And for those who saw Games of Thrones, yes, Game of Thrones had that narrative of many stories developing in parallel to one another and then intertwining. Some will cross with the other and become a new story, or one will terminate the other and the like. But seriously, Games of Thrones had far better pacing than the Rings of Power. This one just goes too fast between one story and the other. So anyway, Nori goes back to the wizard, and the wizard breaks the fireflies inside Norris and her friend's lanterns, and he starts talking to the fireflies, and the fireflies form a constellation, which looks a lot like the drawings he was making when he first woke up the morning after his arrival. And it is a beautiful scene. I mean, we finally managed to see him doing some magic consciously, not just shouting. And the fireflies form this constellation, and Nori realizes that that's what he was trying to tell him. and that's how they will help him. She has to help him find these stars because she has never seen the stars. So they have to go to a place to where this wizard, I assume it is a wizard, can find this constellation. But then the wizard falls to his knees, and they realize that all the other fireflies also die, which is kind of sad. Like, the wizard, when he applied his magic to the fireflies, it absorbs the fireflies' life, and all the fireflies that were flying around them, they just fall to the ground. And back in Khazad-Dûm, Durin is talking with his father, and the king is suspicious of Elrond, that he thinks it's too much of a coincidence that elves appear at their doors at this very moment when they have found something, and the other two attendees open a chest and they reveal that there's something shiny inside that chest. Maybe it's the Arkenstone from The Hobbit? Probably. I don't know. So, back with Theo. Theo still has the broken sword. And the sword starts whispering to him, and the brand of Sauron starts to like burn or shine, and a drop of blood is like absorbed by the blade. One of his wounds that he sustained during his fight with that orc or something that came out of the hole in his floor starts to bleed, and the blood runs towards the sword, and the sword absorbs the blood and starts reforming itself. But is interrupted by Bronwyn, who tells him to hurry and to come out because they have to abandon the town and go to the Elven Watchtower. And to finish the episode, Galadriel and Halbrand are sleeping on the raft. They must be really tired after surviving the storm, and they are found by somebody on a ship. And that is the end of this episode. So what are my final thoughts about this episode? Not much, honestly, because actually nothing happened. There is no further development of the plot. The only thing they did was just introduce more characters. Honestly, they give some background to said characters, and just that. Because the plot didn't advance, they didn't reveal anything important to the plot or any major events. No, just exposition. That's the name of this episode. Just exposition. So this is the Technomage signing off. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.